Hey there, Shadi Bazzi here. Welcome to another episode of the Top Listing Agent Show. Today we have a great friend of mine. Not only is a friend, he's also a mentor of mine. You know, someone who is going to share with us a different kind of conversation today than the one that you're typically hearing on the show. I wanted to bring someone with actual degrees, not just, what life has taught me, but what I've learned in school and, a little bit more on a scientific level that could, walk us through some of the things that we need to be adjusting to and, not only speaking about, but actually implementing in our daily life, in our daily routine to number one, keep our sanity. Number two, to stay physically healthy. And number three, to stay mentally and emotionally in the game to see us through this crisis and which is going to lead us into opportunity, etc. And no matter how good of an introduction I could give Mazen, I most likely can't give it as good as he can give it. So Mazen, why don't you tell the world who you are and why you're so amazing?
Yeah, thank you so much, Chadi, for having me here. I always enjoy our conversations, and I really applaud you for everything you're doing in this time right now and putting some of these programs together for everybody else out there. I think it's really the only way to get stronger at this point, just to get stronger together. And there's no better time than this to truly show our leadership and be out there and helping each other, supporting each other, and really caring for each other. So I'm Mazen Baisa. I'm actually a pharmacist by training. I've worked as a pharmacist for over 15 years. I've done all kind of different type of pharmacy, professional work. And in the last 5 years, I really focused. I kind of stopped after selling over 10 million pills. I decided there's really no magic pill, and we got to work with people's behaviors, habits, mindsets to be healthier, to be more productive and more creative, and obviously and all that leads to making more money and more wealth, because our health is really the greatest asset we have. That everything else work with it. So yes, I'm a peak performance coach at this point. I focus a lot more on healthy habits like sleep and nutrition and breathing, and particularly sleep. It is one area I know a lot of real estate agents and a lot of people within the real estate industry struggle with, because we're doers usually, we're action oriented, and sleep is one of those things that we think it's an activity that we don't have to do much with. But yeah, so that's kind of really what it is. It's all about anything that helps with peak performance, help with mental toughness, and just be the best person that you can be.
Love it, love it. Well, I'm honored that you are here with us today, and obviously we're going through some difficult times, or some of us are going through some difficult times, or the majority of us, or all of us, whatever, however you want to define it. Different people are
Yeah.
experiencing different emotions at this time, and I think the common emotion that I think everybody either experienced a little bit of, or a lot of people experienced a lot of right now, is the emotion of fear. Okay, so so let's talk a little bit about, like, people are afraid, and what can you say about, like, this fear emotional state of mind right now? Like, what are you hearing from your clients? What are you hearing from your community? How are you dealing with it? As a leader, how are you leading your community to minimize the amount of fear and or make fear vanish, etc.? Because I think that's the first thing I want for my audience is I want you to become fearless, not fearful.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever we can do to minimize the amount of fear is what's going to allow you to put your focus in the right place to do the right things to come out of this on top.
Yeah, Shad, it's really amazing. Like you mentioned fear, and I was recently, I had a conversation with my daughter, right? And she's 10 years old now, and she's like, "Daddy, like things changed overnight. It's like this is really scary. I'm scared." And as a father, obviously, your mind right away goes in all kind of direction. That protection, just thing in you it's a primal instinct, right? It's like, I'm gonna protect, I'll do whatever it takes, for this not to be, for my daughter to be in fear. But the reality is, it's all a conversation. So we started to have a conversation about this, and whatever she was saying, it also touched me. There's definitely moments in my days or in my week, especially in the last few days, that you go in and out of that, right? That's just human nature. Like, we can't deny and the unquestionable uncertainty that is going on right now in the world, right? Like, and we cannot really deny that there is definitely crisis going on. But one thing we discussed is, like, in time of crisis, it's so important that to start to actually have a mental shift, and it's really a shift in the sense of, if we start to focus on outcomes, we a lot of time feel we're out of control. What we need to focus on every day is really our daily actions. So not to focus on outcomes, because no one right now could control outcomes, right? We hear all kind of things. We hear all type of scenarios, right? I think from the real estate, kind of agents mindset right now is like, yeah, I mean, a lot of customers are probably, concerned. A lot of your clients are wondering, what are they going to do? How are they going to close their homes? What's going to happen? You are probably wondering what's going to happen to your deals and everything else that is on the table. So it is so important not to get overwhelmed with the outcomes and the futuristic outcomes, and focus on the daily actions. And that's really one thing we've been implementing in my business and also in my personal household, is let's focus on the daily actions, right? We're going to try to wash our hands more often. We're going to try to support each other, in more. We're going to try to do an act of kindness a day. That let that be a phone call to a friend. Let that be actually maybe a free service to a client. Let it be just showing up on Facebook and be positive, because there's a lot of toxicity going on right now. And really, that's it. Just really that mental shift from focusing on daily action instead of outcomes. And I think that's a big shifter when it comes to fear and working with it.
Right. So here's the thing, Mazen. I love what you're saying, but I would say easier said than done. Okay. Easier. It's easy to enter into the conversation, but it's hard to follow it up with action. So it's like,
I agree.
And here's the thing, 9 out of 10 people that we have this conversation with, it's like, you're not really telling them anything new, because, we all know, but I think the problem is, and I think the only thing that's going to get you out of fear is the action, the actual, action. So how do you move yourself from emotion into action? Is it, do you need personal accountability? Do you need external accountability? Do you need to, be part of a community? Do you need to be part of a mastermind? It's like, how do we take that first action? Because that's usually the hardest action. And once you're in action, it's like everything just follows.
You're right. It really is. And that's why I didn't want, obviously, this conversation to be the airy fairy. Oh yeah, just feel positive. Everything is going to be great. And, no, you don't have to worry about anything. No, this is actually the opposite of this. This is about being practical. And it's really about, like, what can we do every day? And it starts again from the daily action. Let me share with you something I've developed really for myself and my family right now that has been serving us tremendously. Because as I said, we do wake up every morning and the news is out there. The feed is out there, right? Like, things are happening. People are calling us. And I had to kind of almost like develop a framework for me to run through every day, and actually start to run my family through every day. That it's been a game changer for me.
I'm gonna take some notes on this one. Yeah.
I mean, I call them the four critical C's during crisis, right?
I love that.
And the first C, or the first critical C in this case, that I'm thinking everybody should really prioritize, and already seen the results of it, is what we say, your core inner armor. You have to basically protect and enhance your core inner armor. And what do I mean by the core inner armor? This is really basically your self-mastery, particularly when it comes to your health. Chadi, how did this whole crisis happen? It is mainly initially a health crisis, right? Immune system, someone is sick, someone did whatever they did, right? And then, things kept spreading. And now people are realizing more than ever that, health is important. Even although sometimes we may leave it in a side way, we may not think about our food or sleep or breathing or movement or exercise. Now people are realizing, I really got to take care of this, because that is the vessel that everything's operating from, right? And that's where we say your core inner armor, because if you're weak, if you're sick, if you're not at your best, regardless of what dreams, ambitions, clients you have, things are not going to run well, right? So it starts with that. Like, so every day we wake up, it's like, great, what are we going to do here to strengthen and to protect our core inner armor? I am going to eat a better breakfast. I am not. It's so easy these days with the stress and everything else to start to crave, and everything is available. I don't know about you, but like we got so many things going on at the house. The kids are doing all kind of, type of things in the kitchen. And it's so easy to be attracted to that. And that is okay from time to time, right? Like sometimes like, okay, I got to try this cookie but we got to go back into how is this really helping my core inner armor, and how is it developing it or depleting it and taking away from it? So that's kind of the first C in this, how to deal with crisis is really to strengthen and protect the core inner armor. And then the other C really, which is so critical these days. And as I said, like sometimes I was telling that to a friend of mine. If he asks me as soon as I wake up in the morning how you're doing, I'm probably gonna say I'm scared, I'm horrible. I don't even know if I should wake up and face what's going on in the world. That's the reality, right? But then when I run through this protocol, particularly protocol number 2, which is the second C, which is confidence. We have to start to realize and do every day what actually is going to be adding to our confidence, and being very cautious of what's taken away from our confidence. There are certain things that we're doing. I'm going to be as simple as this, Shadi. The first couple of days of this whole COVID-19 thing, I didn't shave. I like, you know what? I like, this is crazy. Things are happening. But I realized that my confidence is going lower. I started not to pay attention to the daily breathing techniques that I do. And I noticed that my confidence going. I stopped working out, especially with the gyms closing and all that. And I just took the example. I was like, hey, gym just closed. I can't do much workout at home. Maybe I could do a couple minutes of jumping jacks or whatever, but not a real workout. But all what I'm noticing is like, this is taken away from my confidence. It's literally chipping at it. And I'm like, I don't even want to talk to anybody, But then I started like, great. Now what is the opposite? What can I do to start to build my confidence every day? And this is an everyday practice. It's so critical to do right now. So exercise is a non-negotiable for me, right? For me, shaving, at least every couple of days, is a non-negotiable, because like I'm realizing that if I shave, I feel better, and I'm actually able to come, the better version of me. Having a conversation with my kids, that is a confidence builder for me, even though sometimes they're tough conversations right now, right? So that's kind of the second C. I mean, I don't know, what do you think about that, Shadi? But I think building and protecting your confidence is so critical right now, because no one else will do that for you.
1,000,000%, Mazen, is, and the confidence, the confidence right now is more important than the confidence from before, okay? Because before you were, however you were feeling, you were working towards confidence, and now all of a sudden you're in a situation to where you need the confidence and you don't have the confidence. So most people stop working on, having the inner, confidence, which is going to totally affect, their self-esteem. It's going to, either wipe out any certainty that they had before, or if they have the confidence, it's going to, give them the certainty that they need to get through this time and be able to maybe thrive afterwards, etc. So I think, in my opinion, okay, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I love the fact that, you talked about exercise and stuff like that. And I want to stay on this point for just a little bit longer, okay? Because I think, confidence is something that a lot of people secretly crave and don't publicly talk about, because, most people don't want to be discovered as people that lack the confidence. So they're always playing the role of being someone else. And in my opinion, that role of being someone else is not, if we go back to, the core inner armor, it's not who they really are. So they're always feeling incomplete. And then it's the same circle all over again. And, we need to help people, get out of that. So what I would like to hone in on is like, besides the obvious, physical exercise and taking care of your physical appearance and stuff like that, I think it's more of an inner game than just, what shows up on
Absolutely.
the outside. What are maybe like 1, 2, or 3 things that someone can do right now, today, beginning today, and incorporate into their rituals and their way of being to be able to, slowly but surely raise their levels of confidence from, from your expertise?
Yeah. So like one big thing for me that I've been really doing daily to enhance that is reading. I love reading books, especially if they're inspirational or books that are actually problem solving right now, right? Because that to me, number one, like it gives me the confidence that I'm still in control of what I'm doing every day. I can pick up this book and I could actually start to read. And I know this may sound simple. Come on, like what is reading going to do? But we have to understand, like our brain is like a bank, right? And if we don't deposit good thoughts and good ideas and good solutions and things into it, it's like a bank. We can't withdraw from it. You can't withdraw from an empty bank account, right? So that's like a huge thing for me, like, that is always available also under my hand. Because like sometimes like, you want to look at things that are actually always accessible and always available that could boost your confidence very quickly. And one of the fastest shifts that could happen is really reading, especially reading the right things that are contributing to that confidence and to the ability to enhance it. So I there's a lot of things, right? Jim Rohn is like one of my favorite, coaches, and obviously amazing mentors, and a lot of his stuff is very applicable to what we're dealing with right now. So that I read a lot of his content, a lot of his material. And the reason why I'm saying that, it's because reading also allows us to actually have a moment of sharing, right? If there's something that I read that is positive and that's great, and then is really confidence builder, confidence is contagious. So and that becomes critical.
You said something. You said something right there that a lot of people may have missed, and I want to emphasize on this. Okay, you said a lot of times what you are reading is something that is shareable. Okay, and basically the moment that you learn something and the moment that you share it is the moment that you're actually practicing being confident.
Yes.
Okay. So yes. That's why I'm like so big on reading, and like people like, why do you read so much? I go, well, number one, I don't remember everything I read all the time. I need to, read the same message from different authors read in different ways, because we all need that reminder. And every time you have that reminder, you're actually building on top of your your confidence. Okay, so reading is one thing. How about another one, Mazen? I'm just going to speak about this, and you let me know if it's a good one or not. How about lying?
Yeah.
How about lying?
Lying, you said?
Yeah, not like lion, Lion. Talking about like becoming a liar. But I'm not talking about lying to other people. I'm talking about lying to yourself, because one of the things that we've identified is your lack of confidence is nothing more than a lie that you told yourself that you actually bought into, and that became your experience. Okay? What if you lie to yourself every single day and you tell yourself that who you are is someone that is confident, someone that's courageous, someone that is powerful, someone that is, good looking, someone that is, whatever. Every liar eventually begins to believe their lies. And I think when someone says to me that they lack confidence, I think it's nothing more than a lie that they told themselves that they began to buy into. So, to add on top of the reading is, you need to start affirming each and every single day that who you are is someone that is confident, someone that is charismatic, etc. What do you think about that? I know I'm using like the term liar, which is like
I for sure. Like I think I'm very careful about the words we use, because again, you're the master with this, right? With all the NLP work you do, the neuro-linguistic programming and the effect of it. So I'm always very cautious of using words that actually have negative connotation, especially when it comes to our internal being and our identity, right? Because if we start to label ourselves as liars, I don't think that's really what we want to kind of go after. But it's really affirmation, Shadi, right? And it's self-affirmation that I am confident, and absolutely 100% very critical thing to do. In fact, I see a lot of this with the kids, right? The more I was like, hey, tell yourself that you're confident. Tell yourself that things are going to go whatever way it needs to be. Like the more I see their eye just lights up, it's like, yeah, I am confident. I'm going to do it. And it's like just to jump, right? So it's not necessarily lying. It's really more telling yourself and listening to the better inner voice that has happened. Because sometimes we all have that inner voice, right? Always in our mind. And it's kind of always just going. And we have to make that inner voice work for us, not against us. And for me, one of the ways I do that, like to kind of make that affirmation and introspection really happen, is journaling. I think journaling is a great way, because the more I write something, if I write on paper, I am confident. Mazen is confident. The more it just somehow it hits me faster than just telling it to myself. So just a little tip, because I think there's a lot of connection between writing and actually getting the information into our brain and into the areas that make it to be more believable for our brain.
Beautiful. Okay, so we got core, inner armor, we got confidence. What's the third C?
The third C right now, it's critical in time of crisis, and it is really a critical component of what I call your personal protection and personal assets, is really calm, right? Everybody right now that probably out there in the market, especially in the real estate market, there's a lot of activities happening from the client side, obviously from the, the mortgage side, from, like the deal side, is really to be calm, right? And I say here not to be calm means just, oh yeah, just like everything is going to be fine. Like, this is not a wishy-washy type of calm. This is really an inner calm that you're able then to make that calm to be contagious to other people, because confidence is contagious and calm is contagious, right? And we see it like when we're around leaders that are actually calm and things are, even though under difficulties, we somehow feel that sense of calmness, right? Same thing, we're projecting that calmness to others. So the question is, like, how do you stay calm in in the middle of this? Like, if I just listen to the governor or to the president or whatever talking about, like, this is going to shut down or this is going to happen, how do I stay calm? And the best and easiest way to actually access your center of calm and ability to get calm fast is breathing, because we cannot operate at our best if we're in a fear and flight mode, right? I think, Chadi, you're probably familiar with that even from the NLP world, right? Like, you cannot convince someone, you cannot be the best professional person, you cannot be if you're in flight and fight mode, right? And the fastest way to access the inner calm is breathing. So there is a technique. They use it actually in the military. They use it in the police academies. They use it in Olympics. And the best surgeons, the best pilots, the best SWAT team members use it. And we call it, I personally like to call it just the brilliant breath, right? But it's normally like a 4-second breathing technique. So let's do this together. So it's 4x4. So you take like a breath for 4 seconds. Okay. You hold it in your stomach, right? Not in your chest, because a lot of people breathe through their chest. Like, it's a shallow breathing, and that actually doesn't work very well. You got to breathe it into your stomach. You hold it for 4 seconds, and you exhale for 4 seconds, and you do that for four times. That simple. So 4 seconds into your stomach, hold it for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and repeat. One more time. And that, Chadi, it's the instant change in state that happens when you do breathing. It's amazing, right? And the more we do that, the more we actually start to practice it, the more we start to comprehend it. Because sometimes in the beginning, we may become, really, how is this going to make me calm? But breathing is the only way and the only center between what we call the fight or flight response, the sympathetic nervous system that like makes you escape and fight and do, and the other side of the nervous system, which is what we call the parasympathetic nervous system in science, which is the renewal and the calm response, right? And that's the access point. So to be calm, whenever you hear anything that is making you be in fear, whatever you hear something that is taken away from your confidence, whenever you see something that you're not happy with, you hear bad news from a client, something's going on, take a moment to do that breathing, to center yourself, to get into that inner calm that only allows you now to operate your best.
So this is something that, somebody should be doing like, more than once a day. Like,
yes.
What do you recommend? Like, should someone maybe set a reminder on their phone that, time to breathe or something like that every hour, every other hour? What do you recommend in regards to that? Because here's the thing, I do some breathing techniques, etc. And it always puts me like it's. I'm gonna say it's like a quick fix because like the 16-second thing that you just did 4 in 4 out. I mean, what does that take? 1 minute?
Literally that. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's why it's like you do that for a minute, and it's an amazing mental shift and actually emotional shift that happen in a physical shift, right, which is just fascinating. Now, you mentioned the reminders, and 100%, Chadi, especially in the beginning, it's so important to kind of, put reminders for ourselves. The funny part about this is Apple figured this out, right? I mean, in the Apple Watch, they gave us the breathing thing, and it's automated. Like, it's already, you don't have to download anything. It's already there. I think even many of the other watches have that. Why would Apple invest in such? And it becomes a big deal because they realize the importance of the breathing and the importance also of reminding yourself about it.
Yep.
Now, An external reminder is helpful. So for me, yes, my Apple does actually, my watch go every an hour, but also an internal reminder is even more important. It means as soon as you actually start to go through situational issues, like as I said, every time I'm right now, if I do watch the news, right, and I see something that just, I feel my heart rate going up, right? I would do this technique. If I'm watching Facebook and I see a picture or a comment or something that just, when you're triggered, right? I start to right away do this breathing technique because it just allows me to make that mental shift and physical shift and emotional shift very quickly on my own with nothing else around me. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Does that sound practical? Is it?
Yeah,
I mean, is there a reason why you think this is not doable, Shadi?
No, and I just thought about it right now because I never thought about it. You're absolutely right. I do wear I'm not wearing an Apple Watch right now, but I do wear an Apple Watch, and it does and every time unconsciously, when the whole thing, the circle comes around, it says breathe. I actually do breathe in that moment without me even realizing that I'm doing it or how important it is, etc. All right, so calm breathing exercise is one good thing to do. Everyone should be doing all day, every single day. What's
all day? And I would recommend one more thing here too, because again, I know this shows a lot. A lot of real estate follow it, and there's a lot of real estate individuals will be looking at this. Is as you do this even before you pick up the phone with a client, right? And because it's amazing, sometimes we jump from phone to phone or from a conversation to conversation, and we're not realizing the energy of the previous call or the previous conversation or discussion is carrying with us into the next one, right? Especially in this time right now where people are already in fear and panic and issues. They will influence you with that energy, and you almost have to be the one that actually takes that, reprocesses it, and then actually portrays something else to the next conversation. It's a lot of things in the mind of a real estate agent, and I think a lot of the things we're talking about here, although it may seem a little bit more on the brain and science and all this, that is so critical to carry what you need to be going forward and the challenges that you'll be dealing with.
And that's exactly why I wanted you on here in the mix, because we're doing 13 as of today. We got 13 interviews scheduled, and I'd say right now 2 out of the 13 are people that understand real estate, but not from they're not practicing real estate agents, maybe they're investors, etc. But they work very closely with real estate agents and they speak a different conversation. And, this conversation that we're having right now, I mean, just the term breathing, I mean, it's not a common, practice for most people, not a common term that we use in real estate, but it is a very important thing to talk about, an important thing to begin to incorporate, because right now it's not just about how strong you are, but also how calm you are, because your strength without calmness is basically might become your weakness.
That's right. Yes, I agree with you. And again, everything I mentioned to you here, I look usually for the best science. I look for who's doing this, and if anybody's, because at one point I was like, dude, what is this going to do for me, right? It's how, but then the more I start to dig into the science of it, the more I start to dig into the practicality of it, and it's like, wow, if the elite SWAT teams are doing this, if the best police officers, if the best pilots, if the best surgeons, it's got to have something that we could use for us as professionals. And the best athletes are also doing this before they get it into a game so yeah, it's very simple. And that's why I liked also sometimes when I said we have to be careful about the words we speak to ourselves. So I don't just call it breathing. I call it the brilliant breath. That makes me feel better when I call it this way, right? It's hey, I am going to practice now my brilliant breath. I'll take my 4 seconds.
Love it. What's C number 4?
Yeah, the fourth one, and the fourth C is capability. This is the time right now to continue to develop our capability, to continue to sharpen our skills, and there's no other time than now to really get serious about developing, maintaining, enhancing, boosting our capabilities.
Okay, so I'm gonna write it down.
And I know that's in line with what you do, Shadi. So, that's all what you do.
You said maintain and enhance. Maintain and enhance. Okay, sharpen your skills, capability. Sharpen your skills. Any specific skills that you're referencing?
Yeah. So here, I mean, obviously depends on with the industry of the person, right? But who in any industry, I think, regardless of what industry or profession or whatever it is, who right now is not gonna benefit, for example, from the importance of communication. and the art of communication, and to sharpen the skill of how to be a better speaker, a better listener. Because I think actually listening is even more important than speaking. And it's really amazing because it's something I didn't pay attention to a lot, in the last year or so, to understand the power of listening and active listening and all the things that goes with it. And now with my kids being home, I kind of had to actually force myself. I was like, how do I be a better listener? Because otherwise, if I just keep talking to them, I'm going to drive them crazy. They're going to drive me crazy, and nothing happens. So simple as that is really just to understand, like, what are the skills right now that for the next phase of what's coming, because things are going to change, right?
Yeah.
There's no question about that.
Yeah.
The crisis is going to produce changes,
right?
And there are some people are going to come out of this, and they've done the work, and they continue to do the work to crush it.
Yeah.
And there are some people that are going to be crushed,
right?
No questions about
right.
it, right?
Step up or get stepped on.
That's right. And it's not there's no magic thing to this, right? This is just the process. It's the work, and it's the trial, it's the errors. A critical component of that is to reflect back and think, great, what are the things that have been lacking in the last year or so that if I start to do now, especially maybe because we have more time or because we're not out in the road or doing things that could hugely change the trajectory of my next year of business,
right.
Knowing that it's going to be challenging, knowing that there's going to be a lot of things happening that hasn't happened in the past.
Right.
What are your thoughts, Chad?
I want to dive in on that point, Mazen, because here's the way I look at it, and I think right now, more than ever, you earlier you mentioned the word communication, and I want to expand on that. Right now, more than ever, communication is going to be critically important, and I think it's going to be the key separating ingredient that's going to determine whether you are going to be the person who's going to thrive, or are you going to be the person that's just going to retreat or whatever. And that also is going to go back to your second C, which is confidence. Okay, and even your third C, which is calm, because if you're confident, you're more calm than not. See, here's the thing. Right now, people are experiencing all kinds of different emotions, okay? And the skill that you need to master is selling skills. But I don't mean selling skills in terms of closing on people, because a person who's a great salesperson is not a person that sells people. It's a person that knows how to influence people to make the right decision that they're afraid to make on their own. So in the world of real estate, what we're talking about is like knowing how to connect with people, knowing what to, not just becoming a great listener, but also becoming great at knowing what to listen to, because in people speaking to you, they're telling you how they want to be sold. They're telling you in between words what they're afraid of and what they need your help with to overcome whatever it is that they're afraid of. Okay, so I think connecting is one. I think also pre-qualifying is now going to be a skill that you need, because again, people are afraid to make the wrong decisions, and the only way that you can help them make the right decision is for you to identify all the things that you need to identify before you go out there and show them a property or before you list their home. I think your presentation skills are going to be more critical right now than ever, because every conversation is going to be a presentation, and at the end of that presentation, there's going to be a decision that's going to be made. And the decision is like, I like this guy, but he's not as good as the other guy I met or the other gal I met. Or, I kind of feel like this person doesn't know what they're doing. I like them, but whatever. Or they're gonna get that feel, or it's just gonna connect all the dots of like, I like this guy. He asks me all the right questions. He makes me feel good. He knows exactly what he's talking about. I want to do business with him. And right now, there's going to be a lot of objections that a lot of people are going to be hearing, and objections that are going to be valid and objections that are not going to be valid. Okay, that hidden excuses, we call them. Okay, and you have to know how to overcome the objection, because there's people already in the back of their mind, they're thinking, okay, well, a lot of people don't want to sell their home right now because, they don't want to lose any money or whatever. Or some people don't want to buy a home right now because they feel like, prices are going to come down later, etc. And we got to know how to navigate that conversation, not to make people make a decision so we can get a paycheck, but to help people make the right decision, whether it's to do something right now or later on. And that all happens through a conversation. So selling skills is going to
100%.
be under your fourth C of capability, sharpening your skills, sharpening your axe, maintaining your current skill, and then even if you just maintain your current selling skills, it's not going to be enough to get you into the next
It's
wave.
not. It's
You
not,
have to
Chadi,
enhance that.
because the thing is, even the ones that were already doing very well, right? Times have changed, and the needs of people have changed, and their questions have changed at this point, right? So you mentioned, for example, yeah, the skill of presentation, the skill of communication, the skill of objection handling, which I know a lot of what you teach. That is also going to be important to actually start develop the skill of empathetic communication, because there are a lot of people right now going to be kind of inferior, like they would maybe go with the agent or with the person that is more understanding of them, and they kind of feel like, I connected with this person, he really gets me, right? More than just, all right, it's another deal, right? So yeah, I think that's a critical component right now in this time, is to definitely continue to enhance the skill and continue to generate more skills that will allow you to do better going forward.
Love it. Okay, so there you guys have it. The 4 critical C's during a crisis: core inner armor, confidence, calm, brilliant. I love the brilliant breath, and capability, sharpening your axe, etc., and all that good stuff. Mazen, another thing I want to talk to you about, because you are an expert in this area, and I've actually counseled with you outside of this training before, and we got to continue that conversation, you and I, a little bit later on, is that you're also an expert in the area. I mean, you're an expert in many different areas, clinically and medically, and degrees, not just
Yeah.
like, through a book that you read and you said, hey, I'm an expert on this. But you're also, you're like a sleep expert.
Yeah.
A lot of people right now are having a hard time sleeping because of all the emotional things that they're feeling, whether that's fear or faith or whatever it might be. Maybe for some people,
Sure.
the fear of losing everything they got, or the fear of their family getting sick, or a loved one, or whatever. Can you talk about the importance of sleep, maybe how many hours? Because look, we get mixed signals. Like, I know people that say, hey, you only need 3 to 4 hours a day of sleep. Some people say, if you're getting anything less than 8 hours of sleep every single day, you're freaking damn screwed. It's like, but I trust you because I know you on a personal level, and I'm sharing you with my audience. I want you to talk about sleep. I think it's very, very, very important.
And thank you for this opportunity, Chadi, because it's really amazing. Look, at one point in my life, I really used to look at sleep as something that just, the person that's got a lot of time in their hand will do, the weak will do, something that I'll sleep later when I'm dead, right? Like, why do I need to waste my time sleeping? And that's just the behavior I've had. I never realized of how much of my life was going away because I wasn't sleeping well. How much of my productivity I was not tapping into because I wasn't sleeping very well. How much of my income probably I've lost because I've made, for the lack of a better word, bad or stupid decisions because I did not sleep well, right? That's why Jeff Bezos, the richest person in the world, says, like, I sleep for 7 to 8 hours because I know if I could make 2 or 3 decisions in my day, that would make a huge difference for me if I make them the best decisions that they can be, right? So, when it comes to sleep, it is a very personal matter. Like, yes, it's been kind of popularized, the 8-hour for everybody type of thing, but that's not true. The research shows that some people, operate well on 5 or 6, and some operate well on 8. And in fact, if someone sleeps more than 10 hours, that usually could indicate there is a problem with that person, that they should actually check it, right? So a lot of, when it comes to sleep, some people is like, okay, I sleep well. I mean, how important that is. Well, that third of our life, which is basically a third of our life is spent sleeping, tremendously impact the 2/3 of our life that we're actually when we're awake, right? And sleep is the one thing that affects everything. Because as Shadi, I've done a lot of work in nutrition, right? I've done a lot of work in training and exercising and movement and such activities. But the one thing I realize is the more I keep searching the literature, the more I keep searching the science, the more I keep talking to the best, entrepreneurs or the best, elite athletes or the best surgeons, the more I realize that the one thing that seems to be almost like the thread between that person and their performance success is really their ability to sleep well and their ability to have better sleep. right? And sleep is not necessarily just quantities, not the number of hours. Like in my view, I look at sleep, there's like, I call it the trifecta of the sleep, right? There's quantity, which is the number of hours we sleep. And a lot of people, when they hear sleep, they just go into quantity. There's the quality of sleep, and that's like how deep we sleep, what are the hours we sleep, like like what do we do before we go to sleep, what do we do when we wake up from sleep, all that affects the sleep quality, right? And then the third component of actually sleep is the consistency. Just like I know you and I, we talk all the time about the importance of consistency, and when it comes to sleep, consistency is so critical because we have a clock inside our body, just like the clocks we see in the wall and the computers. We have an internal clock, yes, and that clock is dictated by that consistency of our sleep, which impacts everything in our day, right? So one of the big things right now, because I've got a lot of questions about this, actually from professionals, from CEOs, from lawyers about, dude, like my mind is buzzing at night. It's about my clients, about what's going to happen here, what's going to happen there. I mean, I go through the same thing too. So one thing I realize, most of us sometimes as entrepreneurs and as achievers and professionals, like we treat our sleep, it's almost like a car engine that we just going to go to bed and turn it off and we're going to sleep fine and the thoughts are just going to go away. Our brain is more like a jet engine. It's not like a car engine. It needs time to actually kind of wind down, to get it into what we call the sleep mode, right? So one of the biggest things I recommend for everybody is to really start to look in that 30 minutes to an hour before they go to sleep and really start to take that 30 minutes very, very seriously. It means start to look at it as, if my brain is a jet engine, what do I need to do to get this brain now to actually kind of, come down slowly so it could land and I could actually sleep better? And what a difference it makes. So what does that mean in practical terms? It means do not look at your Facebook feed. Do not look at the news. Do not look at any of these things 30 minutes before you sleep. Because why? If you look at something that triggers you, your mind starts to race again. It's just the reality. Even if you think, it doesn't make a difference, right? It really does make a difference. Number two, like one of the other big points that I think it allows the person to get into that zone of, relaxation and the zone of a sleep mode is journaling, and particularly gratitude journaling. I used to journal my gratitude in the morning, and sometimes I still do it, but I'm more consistent in journaling my gratitude at night, because when you get into that moment of gratitude, even if you had a miserable day, there's one thing you could be grateful for. One thing. This could be maybe your health, the fact that you didn't get hit by a car, the fact that you're still in the house, or your kid is there sleeping next door, your significant other is, around in the place. So many things to be thankful for, right? That just, that little thing, and that's why I call it my good night gratitude journal. It's literally what kind of allows me is like, okay, great, I am grateful, and that actually allows you to have that little bit of a more calm to come into your evening, into your night. So these are like two, there's obviously so many things a person could do, right? Like we always say, start to have some ritual before you go to sleep, right? Like as simple as maybe taking a shower, because there's benefit of the heat and the cold, and there's like all kind of science to some of these other hacks a person could do to actually help with their sleep. But the biggest distinction about it is, when it comes to sleep, is our identity. How do we view sleep, and what can we do about it in the evening to allow us to actually sleep better? But the racing thought is tremendous, and if we understand that our brain doesn't operate like a car, it operates more like a jet engine, your mind starts to relate very quickly. All right, no wonder I'm not able to sleep, because I haven't got the engine to go smoothly to land and I could sleep. Does that make sense, Chadi?
100%. 100%. And one of the things that you said earlier is that the mind starts buzzing, and a lot of times the buzz is revolved around, like they're worried if they can wake up on time the next day, or they're worried about. I think it's more worry than excitement. But then again, there's also times where you're super excited about something, and again, that's another buzz, etc.
It really is. Yeah. And you're right, because sometimes it's an energy of excitement. Sometimes it's actually the energy of fear and worry that triggers that. Yeah.
Right. And
and that's why, like, to me, like, sleep is a skill. A lot of people think sleep is just something. Like, sleep is a skill that the more you learn how to do it, the more you learn how to actually get better quality sleep. Also, the lesser hours you could actually sleep, because now you're getting the deeper, kind of more restorative sleep that allows you to operate at best. And in the corporate world right now, sleep, especially in the bigger, kind of creative, innovative companies like Google, and they teach some of these things, right, to their staff, to their people, because they realize it is almost becoming the ultimate performance enhancer,
Right.
sleep. Believe it or
Right.
not,
And
you
there's
know.
a lot of buzz. There's a
And
lot of buzz about it. And a lot of people speaking about it. That's why I was very excited about having you on here
yeah,
with me today. So your advice to every single person is, make sure you put some rituals in place that allow you to sleep faster. And you said, hey, different people need different amounts of sleep. Someone might need 7, 8 hours. Someone might need 3, 4 hours. And if you're someone that's sleeping over 10 hours, you might want to go seek, some medical counseling to see if there is some kind of a malfunction or malnutrition or mal something. You need to be checked out for that. Now, here's a question.
yeah. And I have to say, Shadi, the 3 to 4 hours is it's more like at least a person needs what we call their core sleep, and their core sleep is usually at least 5 to 6 hours, right? So the 3 to 4 hours, in fact, the data shows a person that sleep 4 to 5 hours, like a day, in a matter of literally few days, they become like a person that had a 6-pack of alcohol. So it is so important not to sleep that low. And number two, for men, and obviously I know there's women and men with us in this particular episode. Study shows like men that sleep less than 4 hours, less than I think 5 hours a day, like their testicles just become smaller. I don't think any men would want to have their testicles to get smaller, right?
Yeah,
So,
man.
But overall, yes, 100%. When it comes to importance of rituals, and I say, do not get overwhelmed with so many rituals. All right, Chadi, now I got you there with the testicle conversation. I know you want to have another 30 minutes here.
All right, nobody give this any meaning. All right, so Mazen, to end this in the next couple of minutes, obviously everybody's dealing with different kind of stuff, and just speaking specifically to the real estate individual, I think 90+% of the people who are going to be watching this and or listening to this are in the real estate realm one way or another. What would be like your final advice to that person to number one just get through the next I don't know 2 weeks or 2 months, however long it's going to take. And what are some of the things that they should be paying attention to right now that's going to uh, get them to hit the ground even stronger when we are released to go back to work?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go back to what I just said, which is really protecting your personal assets through this 4 C's during this critical crisis, right? And that's again going back into ensuring that you're protecting and enhancing your confidence, enhancing your core inner armor, enhancing your calm and the sense of calm, and then really your capabilities. I think this is a broad framework that we just talked about.
Right.
But like each one of those components almost layers in the other one and connects with the other one, that it will be significant if a person really starts to take that on and does what we just kind of discussed in the last, 45 minutes, an hour. Because the reality of this is, Shadi, is like a lot of people these days are also starting to go out there and it's like, oh, here's the one thing that you could do and that will make a huge. We know there's no one thing.
Yeah.
It's usually an integrated process or model that actually delivers this. It's a lie if someone's like, oh, that's the one thing, the one hack that if you do this, you get no. There's nothing like that.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Mazen, I want to thank you very much for taking the time out to be with us today and share with us. And I'm sure something you said, different things you said will resonate differently with different people. And every single person that's going to watch this and or listen to this is going to benefit, one way or another. So, I'm grateful for, knowing you and having you, be with us and contributing to this real estate industry that we both love so much. And I'm sure there's people who what you said really hit home for them today, and they want to either continue this conversation with you and or learn a little bit more about you and or consume some of your lot of great material that you share online. How can people either reach out to you or find you online or connect with you?
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity, Chadi. Really, the easiest part, if someone just wants to check out some of the content that we normally publish, and we almost have something every week, they could check out our blog, which is blog.umaxa.com. That's YOUMAXA.com. Just the word blog before that. So blog.umaxa.com. And I'm sure you could probably put that in the show notes or somewhere, if someone wants to click on that. But this is it's a free resource. It's a lot of the things that we're talking about today, but in even more depth. Like we have great articles about gratitude. We have great articles about the importance of productivity and what can a person do to enhance it. There are even a few actually articles there that have about real estate and kind of what a real estate agent could do to enhance their productivity and do different things that, based on some of the conversations I've had with you, ended up summarizing some of that. But yeah, so blog.umaxa.com is, I think, a great resource for anybody that wants to learn a little bit more. Just a lot of great free information that I put together there as part of my contribution to the community.
Awesome. And I'm sure they can find you online, and we'll make sure we'll put everything in the show notes. Again, thank you very much. I so appreciate you, and hope to have you on here again sometime in the near future when this is all over and done with. So thank you very much, Mazen.
Thank you, Chadi. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be with you. And yeah, be safe, be healthy, and practice your critical 4Cs.
Awesome. Love it. And for everyone out there, just want to let you know before we end this that we are going to be doing a lot of free trainings here on Forward. And a good place for you to go and register for that training is to simply go to realestatesuccessmastery.com. At realestatesuccessmastery.com, what I'm doing is I'm putting together a training to where I am going to show you specifically how to recession-proof your business, how to market-proof your business, and how to win the real estate game no matter what. See ya. Take care.